Hello everybody, hope your day is going well. We are in the third week of September 2020. This month is all about habits and goals and organization. And this video is all about habit tracking. Many of you might be familiar with habit tracking apps or habit tracking charts that have made their rounds on the internet, on YouTube. There are a lot of videos out there about bullet journals. You might have seen there are habit tracking apps. And I want to talk about it today because this is a tool that has been very helpful for me the moment I got out of graduate school and postgraduate school. When I was in my first year out of school and I had to create a system for myself, this was a great place for me to start creating a lifestyle for myself in which I was able to create a good balance between different things in my life. So I'm just going to share with you how this tracking helped me and also how I implemented it, because there are many different approaches to it, and I'll just show you what I did that's been working for me. And I've actually been doing this for the past 4 years or so. I'm actually a big fan of pen and paper, so I don't use an app for this. And I've actually been creating my little charts on post-its that have lines. So I'm actually going to show it to you today. It's kind of silly because this notepad right here, this is the same notepad I've been using for the past 4 years. And the reason I like it is because I organize my habit trackings into months. So I call them my monthly daily charts. Basically what that means is I take one of these and I divide them into squares. I take a ruler and I create lines across, and for each column I write the day of that month, so I'll number it from on top. Conveniently, this pad allows for 15 boxes in each row, which is half of a 30-day month. So I would just create 2 sets of rows. And for habit tracking, I like to limit myself to a maximum of 6 things per month. And coincidentally, I kept my 6 things the same over all this time. And sometimes I wonder if I should change it up, because I noticed that some of them I'm very good at keeping consistent with, and others I need to do a better job. The reason I limit myself to just 6 items per month is so that I can keep track of them. You know, some people do 20 items, and I think that's a lot to kind of go through at the end of the day and put check marks under things. It's just a lot of things. I mean, if that works for you, then that's great. But for me, I just kept it to 6 things: practicing, exercising, meditating, reading, writing, and practicing another language other than English. And also, for each item that you put for yourself, you can define what that means for you. So for example, reading, does that mean you want to read a certain amount of pages per day or a certain amount of minutes per day? What does that mean to you? Practicing, what does that mean? Does that mean that in that specific day, it just means you've taken out your instrument and played for a few minutes? Or does it mean you had a solid session on fundamentals and another session for repertoire? You know, you have to identify that for yourself. I noticed when I started this that it's helpful not to be too specific at first, because the first step is to create a habit in the first place. And there is a study out there that it takes roughly 21 days of consistency of something in order for something to become a habit in the first place, just to touch the tip of the iceberg of it becoming a habit. So because of that, at the beginning of doing something like this for yourself, I wouldn't be too specific about what a certain activity means. Also keep in mind that this Dailies chart or habit tracking chart, whatever you want to call it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to do all of those things every day. So for example, I don't exercise every day, and in fact, I don't think that's a good idea, because part of the process of creating gains in that matter is resting. That's part of the whole equation of making progress. So of course I don't exercise every day. Then again, for every individual it's going to be a different timeline. And also, this is not a game of creating a streak for yourself. See, how many days in a row can I do this thing? Because for many people, I noticed that actually ends up demotivating them on the first day that they don't do it. So upon the moment that streak has been broken, it's like, oh, I can't do it. So then that habit goes away. So that's why I usually discourage creating a streak for yourself, unless that's something that actually really motivates you and makes you do better. Okay, you know yourself best, so I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just telling you what I noticed the general trend is for approaching it that way. So why do we use a habit tracker? It's actually a way to zoom out, away from the process of things. So it's kind of the opposite of what I talked about at the beginning of this month, because I'm a very process-oriented person and I love looking at the small details. I don't know if it's something about being a musician and always being in the practice room, but one thing that many of us who do that are trained to do is to really look at the small details, making small tweaks, and sometimes when you do that a lot, it's easy to kind of forget the bigger picture. So because of that, that's why I created this for myself. Also, as musicians, I know that many of us tend to become very obsessive over what we do, and then we spend hours and hours and it becomes life-consuming, that we forget other areas of our lives that we've always wanted to enrich. So because of that, this is very helpful for creating a little bit more balance in your life. So you can organize your chart in any way that you wish is helpful to you. I know for many people, actually, it's more helpful to track week by week instead of month by month like I do. And actually, I talked last week about my practice journal, and I mentioned Benjamin Franklin because he loved making charts like this for himself. I actually went to the Ben Franklin Museum in Philadelphia a few years ago, and I saw a few charts that he made for himself like this, and one of them was about which wine he was drinking that specific day, because apparently he was a big fan of wine and he had this huge list. And it's kind of funny. But I know that he and many other people preferred to do these charts week by week, because that way at the end of each week we can assess how we did and kind of identify what is working and what is not working. You'll find trends that certain activities you're going to be very consistent at, meaning you put your word into it and you stick true to your word, and other activities it's more difficult to be consistent at. So for those, one thing to do that's very important, first of all, you want to look at it in a non-judgmental way and just kind of observe and make a list of things that you think, why is this not working, and also what are some other approaches I can take to it. Another question you can ask for yourself is this really a priority of mine? Because it might be that you should try a different approach, or maybe try to change the list a little bit for yourself. And I know that for myself, I've been good at being consistent, of keeping the same 6 things on the chart, but Sometimes I ask myself, you know, I should swap a couple of them around and see if it makes things better. So that's actually something I'm going to try to do for the next month and see how that goes. So that's the basic idea. I'm interested if anybody else likes to do daily charts for themselves like this, or habit tracking charts, whatever you want to call them. Put in the comments below what you think and if you do something like this, and I'm interested in what process works for you. So next week I'm going to talk about diving deep into a process. So this video was more about zooming out and kind of taking a look at the big picture, and next week going to be a little glimpse at how I dive deep into a specific process. Will be just one of many, and I'll use that as my example. Okay, so I hope that this has been helpful for you. Don't forget to like this video, share it with a friend or a colleague. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the notification bell, and I will see you next week.